And because, again, this is more about reflections, we're doing less of theory. It's going to be more of an engaging process. We want to have a one-on-one conversation with you guys because of the impact we want to have on how you interact with the children in your class. So before we go forward, I think it's important for me to know at what level of teaching you guys are the kind of children that you interact with. So, Jacqueline, maybe if you can start and go, you can let me know, which level you teach, the kind of experience you have, how you became an early childhood educator and all that. And then Chifunuro, you would also follow.
All right, thank you. So actually, I help kids from grade 1 up to grade 7. Normally, we don't have classes, but we use classes like alphabet, which is like a letter class. And then there is word, paragraph, and story. We did this because we realized that most of the primary school learners, they are unable to read. Maybe they might be in grade 7, but they cannot even maybe identify any letter of the alphabet. So because of that reason, we grouped them according to their literacy level. If they are able to read or to identify some letters of the alphabet, but they can't read, they're supposed to be into in the later class. If they're able to at least make words out of that alphabet chart, then we put them into word. To those who are able to read, they're on the paragraph as well as on story level. So actually, on my background of teaching, I'll dig it back to Sunday school. I used to help kids, and the passion grew to the point whereby I could also invite some kids in my community, and we could have some sessions every Saturdays. And that alone wasn't enough. I wanted to have a larger impact, so I applied to a certain organization by the name Ladder to Learning. That's where I am currently, and I've worked close to 3 years. That's where I teach from grade 1 to grade 7. And actually in grade 1, we just help them with maybe some drawings. Sometimes we can make them watch cartoons that was more on alphabet. Yeah, something like that. While the other learners from other grades, is what I have just said. I teach them about how to make words, paragraphs, as well as to read the whole story. So yeah,
Okay.
that's.
That's very interesting. And so you've not received any formal training outside of the school, like you did not go for attend any teacher training program, you got any certificate, you only have the experience from Sunday school, and the school decided to, guide you on how to engage with the children, if I understand. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's very correct. Actually, Ladder to Learning, they just tries your talent. They say
Okay.
you can use your talent to impact the community. So my background is journalism and mass communication. So I just used that and some sort of like capacity building that I've been given together with a certificate which I got from the Devil guys. So that's it. But I'm not a professional teacher.
Wow. Wow. Interesting. What about you, Chifinura? I think you can follow Jacqueline and give us a background.
Okay. Basically, Ladder to Learning is what Jackie has explained. We don't
Oh,
use
you are in the same school?
Yeah, we are in the same institution, I should say, the same organization. We work with Ladder to Learning, both of us. So on that part, I think Jackie has explained well how we do with kids and their levels. And on my background, it's interesting because I didn't have any experience with teaching, or I studied journalism. So I came across this advert from ladder to learning that they wanted volunteers. So I applied, and my passion for early childhood development just grew from there. Now I'm passionate about this, and I would just want to be in this industry just like that. And of course, I also now teach at our church Sunday school, but I started there after uh, after now working with ladder to learning. So because I just grew this passion of, you know, interacting with kids, you know, their minds are so amazing. So I also started Sunday school teaching now. So yeah, it's like that. But I'm not a professional teacher and haven't been to any formal training about that. I don't have a certificate or a degree in education. But now uh, it's just passion that took me there. The passion.
Okay. Wow, interesting. I mean, it all starts with passion, which is a very good thing, okay? But it doesn't end there, right? We need to step up, from passion, okay, then develop ourselves, which you guys are doing, because the fact that you're in this training program today is evident that you want to develop yourselves and do what you are doing better. So I think you're on the right path, both you and Jacqueline. You started with passion, which is how it all begins. It's very even dangerous if, let's say, you've been to a training school before you're a professional teacher and you don't have the passion for it. There are people like that. That is even more dangerous. But when you have passion for something, then you want to work towards it and you want to use that passion to change and create social change, especially in your classroom. So I'm going to bring it back to the topic of this training, the lived curriculum. I'm not sure if you guys understood it when we put the topic out there. I think we mentioned that the process-based learning versus the curriculum as planned. So as you guys are already teaching children, Jacqueline, you mentioned that you sometimes take the children through drawing and you also let them watch cartoons and all that. I think you're following the school's curriculum, right? The curriculum is the set of activities or the structure or the plan of the learning approach that the school wants to use and the kind of activities they want to do, you guys to do with the kids to generate a certain level of outcome, okay? Now, the way you deliver the curriculum or the way you deliver the activities to these children is what we call the process-based learning, okay? The process that you're using to engage these children. You know what activity to do, right? If your school tells you, Jacqueline or Chief Nuro, do drawing activities with the kids, that's just an instruction on what you should do with the curriculum that day, okay? But it is the process you use to engage the learners or your students that actually makes the impact, because just the drawing activity does not just bring about any impact. I hope you understand what I'm trying to come to. The process that you're using, hello?
Hi, yeah, we're here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
Yeah,
could you
Robin.
hear me before?
Sorry?
Yes, I'm following.
You're sure? Because you guys were silent for some time, so I'm not sure if you could hear me.
Yeah, you're loud and clear. We are just following.
Okay, so the process-based approach that you use is what we call the process-based learning, and that is what we call the lived curriculum. The lived curriculum just means that the experience that the children get in the process of you engaging them in that drawing is what is called lived, like you've lived something, like you've lived life, okay? A lot of us, I have engaged children for a long time. So I know that sometimes we are forced to just do activities or just follow the curriculum because teaching children is very stressful. So it's not easy to really engage children in a manner where you are intentional. But if you really want to go far or you want to make impact in the lives of the children that you are teaching, then it's important that we become more reflective about the process we are using to engage the children and the kind of skills they can get in this process. Okay. So before we go further, we are going to do a little exercise. Okay. So if you guys can grab a pen and paper, I think you may need two different sheets, either a pen or marker, because you're going to write something bold on the paper. So we are going to do two different sessions or exercises. And let me know when you have those, if you have the pen and paper ready. Hello, Jacqueline.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay. What about you, Jacqueline?
I'm getting my paper.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay. So I want you guys to close your eyes. And the reason why we are not doing videos is because I don't want there to be any distractions, so that you can be really focused on what we're gonna do. Okay. So if you please close your eyes, this is a little reflection exercise. Now, you've closed your eyes and imagine the house that you used to live in when you were a child. I don't know if you're still living in that house, but if you are not, imagine yourself back in that house that you used to live. And imagine that everything is still the same, just the way it used to be when you were a child. So I would say, imagine you were around 9 years or 8 years, and you are just in the same house where you used to live, either with your parents, your extended family. Now, I want you to visit the memories you had in this house. Think about all the things that you used to do in this house, the food you guys used to have, used to eat, the kitchen, your bedroom, your siblings, all the lovely things that you used to do in this house. Now, take a look at your clothes, your shoes, the photos and paintings on the wall in this house. Now, it's time to leave this house, and I want you to take one thing that you cherish most out of your house. You're leaving your house now as a little girl, and you want to take with you one thing. It can be an object, It can be a memory. It can be anything at all. Now, you can open your eyes and write down what you took from the house on the paper. Write it boldly and show it on the screen. So you can turn on the video, show it on the screen, and you can also put it in the chat. Hello?
We are here, Lily.
Okay. I'm waiting for you to post what you took from the house in the chat and also to show it on the screen. Please be truthful to yourself because this is a reflection exercise, okay? It doesn't matter what you took from the house or what kind of memory or what object you took. Reflection exercises are meant to help you tap into that inner person that you are. So let's just put in an honest, and there's no wrong or right answer. This is you, right? It's your house that you visited. And so, you know, what you choose, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be anything. You did not take anything. Wow. Chifunuro, can you please let me know why you did not take Jackie? Okay, hold on first. Jackie, I want to know what you took from the house.
I hope you are able to see me.
I can see you. I didn't see what you posted in the chat. So if you can first put it on the chat first.
All right.
Your education charts on the certain wall. Okay, good. So let's start with Chifunuro. Chifunuro, we'll need you to put on your video and please explain why you didn't take anything from your old house. Your video is on. Please unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Now you can hear me, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. The reason why I didn't take anything is because I don't know. When I was reflecting, I felt like empty. Like I didn't really have that fulfilling childhood.
Okay.
I yeah, like I was empty. That in that period of time, I was empty.
You were empty. Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very strong reflection, and trust me, I can really feel what you said.
Mm.
I can relate in some way. I know how you feel about it. But do you
Yeah.
think at least there's a memory or something you could have still carried in that emptiness, like something that you can bring on with you today? It can be, like you said, it was empty. That feeling of
Yep. Yep.
emptiness. Is it
Mhm.
something that you can take? I think it's still something you can take with you, right?
Um.
I think that there's something in that emptiness. Either it's gonna be something that fuels your today, right? There is still something in that emptiness, that message, that emptiness. It's still a message that you're carrying from that house. Have you realized that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're
So
right.
you're
Yeah.
still carrying something, and
Mm,
that
mm.
emptiness is what is going to spark you to be like, hey, I went to that house. And like you said, you felt like you didn't have a fulfilled childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is what you need to carry into your today and into the future. And that is
All
what
right.
reflections are about. And I really love that. So we're going to come back to that and relate it back to our topic of the lived curriculum. So
Okay.
Jacqueline, you said you took the education charts on the sitting wall. Can you please explain to me why you took the education chart on the wall?
All right, thank you. So when I was reflecting, I was taking back to my old house where I grew, I think from Sunday 3 to I think to my secondary level. So the memory which came so strong was the education charts that my mom posted all over the walls of our sitting room. The whole thing was she wanted me to start reading. So by then I was just coming from grade 2 going to grade 3, and because there was something that happened, like my mom and my dad separated, so that experience made me to go to my home village where my education went down. So when she went and picked me from that home village, she wanted me to go back to where I was able to read, to write, and everything. So she had to light those charts like the alphabet, um, shapes, as well as Chichewa, which is our mother tongue language. So she posted everything on the wall. So every time I could enter that sitting room, I could cry because I knew my mom was so, I should say, she was a no-nonsense woman. So she could make me read. If I will not read, then she could leave me at the sitting room and go to sleep. So that alone is the memory that I cherish because I'm what I am today because of what she made me to be. She could make sure that I was able to read the alphabet. I could make some words out of it. I could know how to maybe do mathematical problems and the likes. And that made me to be on the top position. So that is what I took in my house.
Awesome. So you see, I think I also love your part of the reflection, because you went back to your childhood and you took back all the memories you had, the interaction with your mother, and how that has helped you today. And I think that is a very great thing. You took your educational charts and reflecting back on it, how it's actually influenced your life today. Now I want us to look at your position as educators today, right, in your classroom. We're going to do another exercise, but I want you to think about the children in your classroom, right? We are not in the second part of the exercise yet, but this is just something I want you to ponder about. The children in your classrooms, what you have gone through, Chifunuro and Jacqueline, every experience you've gone through, they're probably going through that experience now. Most of them are probably feeling like their childhood is empty, even though you will not know that they notice most of them notice, okay? Most of them are living in households where they feel empty, just like Chief Nuro, you said. They feel that there's nothing they have. The only time they really laugh is when they go out to play with their friends, or when they come to school and they play and all that. They feel sometimes this emptiness that you have just explained. And some of them are going through, Jacqueline, the same experience where their parents are being strict on them to learn and everything. But right now, they've not really seen the importance of what, their parents or their teachers, as teachers, you're encouraging them to do. They've not seen it because they've not grown yet. Just like you, when you were a kid, right? You did not really understand the importance of what your mom was doing, right? So right now you feel it, but the kids in your classroom have not felt it yet. So I want us to go into the second part of the exercise, which is we're going to close our eyes again. Okay. I'm going to give you a minute silence so that you close your eyes, and then we go into the second exercise. Imagine your childhood school, the school where you used to attend as a kid. Now, imagine visiting that school again, and everything is just the same way that it used to be. The books on the shelf are the same. Your friends are the same. Your classmates, nothing has changed. And you're walking back into that school as a child. Maybe you're around 8 or 9 years old. It's early morning and you've walked into the school. Assembly is over. And now I want you to visit the memories you had in the school. All the memories you had in your school. All the lovely things you used to do in the school. From how you start early morning assembly, break time, lunchtime, and even learning hours. Now, take a look at your classroom and take a look at your teachers. Take a look at your classmates, your friends, and even the ones you didn't like. Now, look at the paintings on the wall, the drawings, and the library. Now it's time to leave your school. And I want you to take one thing that you cherish most out of the school. It can be a memory. It can be a relationship with the teachers, with the school. I'm talking about a positive interaction or a negative interaction. It can be anything that you loved or didn't like about your school, or it can be even an object that you really connected with in the school. Now, please write it boldly on a sheet of paper. You can show it on the screen, and you can also post it in the chat. Well, if you have more, you can put it down. Maybe at least 3. Ifunero, I'm waiting for yours. Okay, so Jacqueline, can you please tell me why your first day at your new school is a memory that you take along, and also so the 3 you mentioned about your first day at your new school, your teacher, Mrs. Stompton. So let's take it first with your first day at your new school.
All right. It's something that I keep on laughing about. So actually, I was like coming from my grade 2. My mom was taking me from my home village, and this is my new school. And naturally, I'm short, and at least now, I've grown some body, but then I was just so skinny. That's the word. So when I entered into my class, it was like I was the youngest amongst all. And even the teachers were so surprised to see me in grade 3. So they were like, look at this little baby. What is she trying to do here? So it was sort of like a tease. So they made me to write like, what is your name? Where are you coming from? What's your home village? So they made me to step on the table to write all those things. Thank God my mom during the holidays made me to read all the educational charts. So I was able to write my name, to mention how old I was and the likes. So I had to climb on that table. I wrote everything on the blackboard and they were like, wow. So she's even able to write all these things. I think she's not young. I was just 6 years old. So I keep on remembering that day because had I failed to write those things, I would have been sent to grade 2. But then because I was able to write and to do all those things, they favored me to say, no, let's leave her in grade 3. Yeah, so that's it about my first day at school.
Okay, that's a very good memory and reflection. And I want you to also tell me something about Mrs. Thompson, your teacher, that made you, add her to the list of things that you decided to take from your school.
Okay. So my teacher, Madam Tom Tom, was part of like my memories, because she was the one who made me to write those things on the blackboard. And eventually, when she noticed that I was able to read, to interact in that class, she started loving me. Sometimes when I'm writing my exercise, she could come ask me about my mom, and then she made an effort to reach out to my mother, and they become friends. So whatever I was doing at school, she was able to report it to my mother. So I finished my primary schools, but that connection even today is still there, because she moved to the other community. But every time she meets my mom, she asks, "Where's Jack? What is she doing?" Things like those. On the school closing day, wow, this was the wonderful one, because my class were about 360 kids, and being new at the school, um, it was something which was so memorable, because from grade 2, I didn't do well. So they just say, let her go into standard 3 and she should just try. But then on the school closing day, I was position number 2 out of 360. So I had to receive gifts like pens, pencils, as well as the exercise books. So every closing day, it was me, and they could make me like maybe, put me on the table, showing other parents like, look at this little one. She's always on top 3. She's always like that. So school closing days were so good for me, because it was about gifts, 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 and my mom could bring me like soft drinks and all. So yeah, that was wonderful.
Okay, so the fun and play. Okay. So that's a very good reflection. Looking back at everything you said from your first day at your new school, I think I will summarize it to say that you felt you were underestimated because of how you looked, smallish. And so, you know, in the end, your potential or capability, right, as a child has nothing to do with how you looked, right? There was something more inside of you beyond how you looked on the outside. And you were able to tap into that and really prove it, right? When you had the chance to be heard or seen, or when you were given the opportunity to prove yourself, you were able to showcase that potential that was inside of you. And with regards to your teacher, Thom Tom, I think that what I got from it was that she believed in you. She was somebody that believed in you. She became like a mentor. She had a very great engagement with you that even went beyond the classroom. So she engaged with your mom, trying to connect your educational experience and everything, and giving your mom feedback on your learning, and also, having that kind of interaction with your family. And that made you feel some kind of safety, or you felt she cared for you, and you also felt she loved you, right? So the experience you had with teacher Tom Tom, you really brought that. And that is what the lived experience talks about, or the lived curriculum talks about, right? Imagine your teacher Tom Tom would not be on this list if she didn't do all these things. There are a lot of teachers that taught you math, right? In your school, they taught you science, but you didn't mention any of them. The person you remember is teacher Tom Tom, based on the interaction and the engagement she had with you. And that is what the lived curriculum is about. How you engage learners in this process-based learning, but you are using the curriculum to teach them anyways, but you're interacting and engaging them in a way that makes them carry this. That is why we say it's lived, right? You've had like an experience that you've taken with you. So it's like a life lived. Okay. So I really love that. And the third thing you also mentioned was you talked about the fun and play aspect, where you talked about the last day, the closing school day. It was fun, there was refreshment, there was all that. And I think that through it all, we've all recognized that fun and play and, having community interactions with our peers, having moments like events and sporting activities, bringing people together. It's something that we also would carry on. And for you to to go back to your childhood school and take that, it means it really meant a lot to you, right? And a lot of children, it means the same way to them. The children in your classrooms, your students, the same thing. So as an educator or as a teacher, now the question you're going to ask yourself is, how can I ensure that one day my students will describe you, Jacqueline, as you have described Teacher Tom Tom? So that you're not just reflecting, but you're reflecting and also to take action. Okay. You're also going to ask yourself, Jacqueline, how can you ensure that you are able to help the students in your school or in your classroom to tap into that inner potential in them, just like you had the opportunity to show your potential and show people that there is more to me than just my small look. Yes, it's very deep. That is why the reflections are really important. How can you ensure that every child that is in your classroom, they are able to tap into their potential? Some of them, it may be the way they communicate. Yours was the way you looked. Some may be the way they communicate. Some of them may be barriers. They are shy. But if you really go inside, you realize that there is something deep inside that can help them to showcase their potential. And in doing that also, when you talked about the fun and play aspect, how can you ensure that your process of teaching and engaging children is something that they would always remember as fun, as an enjoyous or very playful moment that they would always looking forward to, or every time the child is at home and they are coming to school, they're always looking for that environment. Even if it's not always in your classroom, how are you contributing to that, creating that environment in the school, or encouraging the school to run activities or programs that are fun and interactive and playful, so that these children will always be excited when they think about school, or when they when they're home and they're doing their homework or with their friends, something they always look forward to. For you now, it's a reflection. But for the kids in your classroom now, they are in that lived experience. They are now experiencing it. Okay, so we're going to go to Chifunuro's points. She said, I got all the exams that I passed. I also got my friends and also sports sessions. And I love how sports session shows up here. It shows up in Jacqueline's own and also here. So it means that playful, interactive, activities is something that children or we all, love, right? Even as adults, you're looking back and that is something you really reflected on. So Chief Nuro, can you please explain why you took the exams that you passed? If you can elaborate or explain something about that reflection point.
Okay. Basically, my mom was a teacher also. So
Oh, nice.
yeah. So whenever I got exams like I didn't pass, she would give me a hiding. like a hiding. She will whip me. So in order to avoid being whipped, I work hard in class. You see, so that I get everything correct. And also, I realized that she was doing that for my own good. So whenever I pass an exam, I felt happy inside, like real happiness. I was happy. I was
Wow.
showing everyone my past papers, like my friends, you know, like a happy child. Yeah, that's why I say that from there I got my exam papers so that I passed. Only those that I passed, not the ones that I failed. Because when I failed, it was something else at home. Yeah, and I always have a small circle of friends ever since. So at school, I appreciated my friends. There were a few, yes. So I appreciated them because they brought happiness into my life. Knowing, how I grew up, it wasn't that pleasant at home. So from my friends, I got the happiness that I longed for to have at home. And also, I also took out sport sessions because we played a lot of games. So it was fun, at school, it was just fun playing games, forgetting about everything. Yeah, interacting with other classmates. Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Wow. That is also a very great reflection. So I think that I really love the first one, especially when you talked about you being happy you passed your exams. So for me, that
Yeah,
reflects
yeah.
a successful outcome. You felt, unlike when we did the house, you felt empty, right? But for the school, you felt you
Mhm.
achieved something. So the exams you passed made you feel like you fulfilled something, right? At least even though you failed some, there were others that you had um you had achieved. And I will say that that stands for a potential you had reached at that time. Okay. Um, Now I want you to think about the children in your school that you're teaching now and how the engagement you're having with them or the teaching experience you're having with them, how it is reflecting in their exams, right? Because you see, you found joy in the exams that you passed. The ones that you failed did not bring you joy. And there are children in your classroom that are feeling exactly the same. Children feel very bad when their colleagues pass exams and they don't, they're failing or something like that. So the question will be, how can you engage these children to even understand that failing exams is not, like you said, you didn't take the ones that you failed because for you, you felt like it's not something to be proud of, right? But how can you change that narrative for your children, for the students in your class? We are not just going to encourage children to pass exams. Yes, it's good to pass exams, which is great. It brings us a lot of fulfillment, the excitement, we feel proud of ourselves. But looking back at your reflection and you deciding not to take back the exams or those scripts that you did not pass, it means that you were not proud of. It is something that you were not proud of. But as a teacher, if you can change that narrative for your students so that even when they fail exams, there's still some lesson that they can take out of that experience. Maybe it's the way you encouraged the child, right? Or the student. Imagine one of your students grows up one day and says, this is what I took this from my school, the exams I failed. And then they asked, why did you take it? And they said, when I failed those exams, my teacher said something to me. And that is why I took that failed exams instead of the ones that I passed. Can you imagine how that experience will influence the child's life growing up? Just like you, Jacqueline, right? I think at the beginning of this training, you told me that you were rejected, you had some rejections, right? That made you feel down. Now, remember, we've all learned this from our childhood. When we fail something, like Chief Nura said, the exams that she failed, she didn't take that one with her. She was not proud of it. So we have a lot of work to do as educators to go back and teach children that it's okay to fail. Even if you don't pass your exams, we encourage you to pass. We encourage you to learn, okay? Because yes, you will get up the ladder faster when you learn. But if you also fail, it's okay. There is something to learn. And then you take that opportunity to help them to discover why they failed and what they can do better. So it becomes more of a lesson than just a feeling that I did not do well. That brings us down, because then we grow up thinking every time something does not go well for me, I either have to go depressed because then I'm not proud of myself because I failed. And I don't want to show out my failure to people. Because like you, Chifunuro, you did not take the exams that you failed, not even one of them, because you're not proud of it. You don't want to show it. And as adults, that reflects in our life. We only post, like when you go on social media, we only post the positive things. We only talk about the aspect of our lives that we want people to see, to show that we are happy, to show that we are succeeding. But then the failures that we go through and the rejections can also show us a lot. So we have the opportunity to then transform the children that we are teaching today something different. We want them to succeed, but we want them to also know that even if you fail on the way, which you will fail sometimes, if you fail in the process, you should also acknowledge the lesson that comes with the failure. And Chief Nura, you also talked about your friends. So it's about the connection with your friends in school. You mentioned you were having a hard time at home, and the only time that you had some kind of happiness was when you went to school and your friends, you had time to play, and you even touched on the sports activities. And again, that comes back to the learning through play aspect, which is very important in our schools. And like I said from the beginning, the experiences that you've been through, most of the children in your school right now, they are going through the same experiences. Some are even going through worse because now there is technology so they can see what other children are having, right? In our days, we couldn't see what somebody else, was having or another child has, unless maybe it's in our community. But now they can see it. So it's even more, the struggle is even much more greater than them, seeing that your parents cannot provide for you this and that, and they come back to school. That is the only time they have, true happiness. And so, which is why learning through play is important. And as educators, we need to create that environment for them to play and have fun and to connect with their peers. And in doing so, we can also use the opportunity to teach them social skills. So whilst we're encouraging learning through play, because just like you, Chief Inuro, we've understood that a lot of children are going through difficult times at home and in their communities. So how can we make the learning environment in school, the safe place and a place that they can always connect with, so that they're always also happy to come to school? So I think that this reflection is just to, connect you back as educators, back to, your childhood, your own experience, because your experiences or our experiences really shapes how we do things or how we even interact with the curriculum that we teach in school. It really does. because we've been shaped, or how we behave today, okay, all has been something that we have learned, or it's been from our experience from childhood up to this point. The way Jacqueline will engage children in drawing will totally be different from Chifinuro, because you might still all be tackling various things that you've experienced from your childhood, and it may be reflecting in the way you interact with those children. So I want you, each one of you, to tell me, what is something that you've really taken from this reflection? Maybe it can be just one thing. What do you think this reflection has helped you realize or opened your eyes to? Or what have you gained from this reflection exercise? Any of you can go.
Okay, so all right. As for me, I feel like I can use my past experience to improve on my teaching skills. For example, if it's about the way I was undermined at school, I'll always make sure that my learners are not undermined. I'll give them the platform to learn without maybe being undermined because of how they are performing, but I can always give them the chance to try and to make things right.
Thank you. That's a wonderful thing to take from the reflection. Can you please post that in the chat, just in writing form? I really love that statement. And we're gonna need it for our next session. We're gonna need it. So please put it all in writing in the chat. Thank you so much. Chief Nuro, I want to hear from you what you've taken from this reflection exercise.
Okay, from this reflection exercise, friends, that we have to give the kids the opportunity to like be themselves, of course, and also to transform the today's kids based on what we went through, based on our experience. We don't want this generation to go through what we went through, but give them something that we liked back then. Yeah, like for example, like what you said on the first exercise, that like I took emptiness. I was empty. So to avoid that, I at least have to engage with my kids in a way that I try to fulfill that empty space in them. Okay, to give them something to be proud of, not for them to feel empty like I felt. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that too. And that is a very good thing. Like you said, how to use our past experiences, and then not only the past experience, to make sure that this generation or the next generation don't go through the same thing. And I
Yeah.
really love both of your statements. Please put them in the chat. I really love it. This is great. And we would move on to the next thing. So now that you've all summarized the educational experience you've had, you've talked about the home. The reason why we did both the home and school is because these two places, they really play they play a great part of a child. No, let me rephrase this. Our homes, or where we live and where we come from, and the school as well, plays a lot of importance on how we develop, especially in our childhood. They influence us a lot. So what happens in the home will definitely influence what happens in school, and what happens in school would also influence what happens at home. So now I want you to describe your experience with your students. I want you to tell me how you think your past experience, educational experience, or even upbringing has influenced how you interact with your students? How would you think that, let's say, for instance, Jacqueline, how would you think a child in your class will describe you? And I don't want you to look at just the positive aspect. Again, this is a reflection exercise. So you want to make sure you're being honest with yourself. And the idea is not to take that negative, or if it's, let's say, something you don't do well with your students, the idea is not to take it and say, oh, Jacqueline is a bad person. No. The idea is that you recognize that this difficulty I had in my childhood has maybe made me a tough teacher or made me a more stricter teacher. And I think I need to work on this. So I want you to describe first, okay, how you think your past experience has influenced how you interact with the students in your classroom, and two, how you think your students will describe you.
So am I the one starting, or is Chifundino?
You can go.
Okay, so to me it's like 50-50. You know, a coin has two sides. Growing up with a tough mom made me to take education very seriously. So every time I'm delivering my lessons to kids, I would love them to be very attentive, not just like praying, doing this and that. No. So every time I feel like a child is not cooperative, I made sure, like, maybe I'll ask the learner to stand at the corner just to make sure that she or he is active in my lessons. So on that side, maybe kids would describe me like I'm tough, because I always want to see my learners being very active. At the same time, every time when I give an assignment, I said, this is your homework, I will mark it tomorrow. I make sure I check each and every learner if they have really done my homework. If not, I'll just tell the learner to say, go call your mom tomorrow, I need to talk to her. It's like, I understand, like, it's not just about a teacher doing the work, but it's something that has to be like a collective. The other side, the parents are also helping us, and I am also helping them. So we should just meet at the middle. So that's what I do. And I know most kids will always describe me like I am tough because of those two areas. On the positive side, I'm very kind. I'm very kind. Basically, I didn't go to, like, you know, those expensive schools and all.
Explain, when you say you're very kind, can you please explain it or describe it, so I understand what you mean? I mean, define what you mean by you're very kind in terms of your interaction or your engagement with your students.
Yeah. So I'm very kind because
You can give examples if you want.
yeah, I will. So I said I'm very kind because every time maybe I've come across Elena who is having difficulties in reading or writing, I make sure, like, I have like separate schedule to meet with Elena. Like, I want to know basically what's the problem with that Lena. And it doesn't just end there. Sometimes I would even request for a parent to have a talk, because there's some things that it's beyond our control. Maybe there is a problem with that, that child. So I need to talk to the parent to understand what's going on between the Lena, or maybe it's just the Lena. So I make sure I help the Lena separately from the other group. And that's why I'm saying I'm sort of like very kind. And sometimes even for the Lena who is not in my class, but she's just so passionate to learn with me, I make sure I accommodate that Lena as well. So that's what I'll describe as being kind to the learners.
Okay, so in your understanding, being invested in the learning process of your students makes you feel that you're kind because you are invested. You want them to succeed in their learning. And that is what, just to make sure I understand what you describe as. Okay, that's good.
Not just like the learner coming and attending the classes, but by the end of the term, I should also see progress. If she was not able to read, I should see like she has improved. For example, if she was in an alphabet class, she's at least able to identify halfway of the letters of the alphabet. So yeah, that's it.
So apart from engaging, that's a very good point. And what I want to ask next is, apart from engaging their parents, okay, you talked about talking to the parent, finding out, what is wrong, if there's something happening at home, and if it's just a child. So let's say you've spoken to a parent. What are some of the examples, or what experience have you had? And apart from outside, let's say, yes, I do agree, parents need to also be involved in the learning process. But apart from that, apart from you going to the parent to talk to them, what else do you do when a child is not really showing any excitement in learning, or they are not improving? I don't
Okay.
touched on anything on your end. You did mention that you're kind, you want to succeed, but I didn't really understand exactly what you do in that action, in the action that brings them. Yes, the intention is to make sure you're invested in them, and how you want them to succeed. But what kind of action do you take apart from the one engaging or talking to their parents?
So basically, if I have noticed like the kid loves maybe some cartoons, I'll make sure I've found an educative cartoon and I put it during lessons. So the child will be like, okay, I'm watching a cartoon. But by the end of that cartoon, there is something that I want them to grasp. And
Okay.
I'll put like alphabet letters in those cartoons, the animations and all. So I'll be like, what was that? It was an eye. So you find like I've brought the aspect of playing in that class, but at the end of that aspect of praying, there's something that I have achieved helping the child. So it's not about watching the cartoons. I'll even bring some tablets. Thank God we have some tablets at our organization. So I'll also maybe use the tablets. They'll be like, I'm praying with the phone. But in that pray, they're doing maybe identifying letters of like, there are different games that we can use for like maybe doing the alphabet games. So they're like, oh, I'm doing this. But by the end of the day, they're able to put up all the whole parts of an alphabet into one place. So that's what I normally do. Not just about letting them sit down, listen to me and that. No, I want them to have the aspect of playing and at the same time also learning. So I also bring those, things that can attract kids.
Wow, that's a very great approach. And I think that is what the learning process, or the process-based learning, is about. Remember, I talked about using the same curriculum, right? But it's the way you deliver the learning or the teaching that actually makes the difference. And that is what the lived curriculum, the lived experience, or the process-based learning, it's all about. Chief Nuro, can you please, I think for the same question I asked Jacqueline, what do you think how do you think your past experience has shaped or influenced how you teach the children in your classroom, positively or negatively? Okay, just like she touched on the strict side. And then apart from that, how do you think your students, or the students in your classroom, how will they describe you?
Okay. Well, I think I like playing a lot. So I like in my classroom always we watch cartoons like the alphabet cartoons, like word phonics. I use laptop very much because I want them to have this experience, I know that at home they don't usually watch cartoons. That's uh, the kind of kids that I have, that I teach. I don't think they watch cartoons at all. Okay, some they might, but not all of them. Maybe three-quarters they don't. So I give them that experience of having to watch a cartoon, and also learning something from the cartoon, and also I have games with them also. And for example, I have a few kids who ask me to join my class just because I play a lot. I'm like a kid when I'm with those kids. I'm like also a kid. So I loved playing when I was young. So, and now I also give that to my kids. They should play. At the same time, they are learning something from it. Uh, Also, I also give them what I missed. Like we talked about the emptiness. I don't want them to feel isolated like I experienced when I was growing up. So I engage with them, they engage with me. I told them, you're free to come to me to do anything. Maybe ask if you want to ask me anything. And also, most of the time, yeah, it's like I play. So they like that kind of thing. They like that skill in me, that I play with them. I reduce myself to their level, and yeah, we do stuff like I'm also a kid. Even at Sunday school, I have like two or three kids who ask me to be in my class. Yet I don't teach their level, but they still want to be in my class just because I asked one student, why do you want to join my class? She says, because you are just like us. You play just like us. You interact with us like you are one of us. That's why you want to join your class. Okay, so I was proud of myself in that moment. Yeah, I was like, okay, so I'm doing something. I'm giving these kids something that they don't get from other maybe other people, or maybe at home. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I think that from what you said, you mentioned that you're already engaging them based on the experience you've had, um, based on the experience that you've had with, your childhood and everything. You're already making sure that you're filling that gap and engaging the children and creating an open space for them to always come to you, and which is very good because children need to know that their teachers really have created that openness for them. There is always somebody they can go and talk to. And that is something that is very important. There are children who will not tell, their parents things that they're going through. But if there is a teacher who has created that atmosphere or has created that enabling environment for them to believe that they can always come to her, then it's a very good thing. And it's always good and refreshing, especially if your teacher tells you, oh, you can always come to me when you need something. That really helps children a lot. And I don't know if you've ever heard about this quote that says, children learn because when they love their teachers, right? They actually learn for their teachers. So if they don't like you as their teacher, and if they don't really connect with you, sometimes they will not even learn just because they don't like you. Because once you enter the classroom, because they don't like you, automatically their mind switches. Their mind automatically switches. So it's a very good approach to let them know that you're always available to them. And even parents, you can also encourage parents as well. Sometimes children find it very difficult to interact or communicate with their parents. And so they will not share things with their parents. And so even as educators, you can also encourage parents and tell them, you may not even be educated, but there are things you can still do for your child to know you're still invested in the education, and create an open and enabling environment for them to always come to you when they're struggling with something, or when they need help, so they don't have to go to their friends to get that help, or have to rely on their friends all the time for advice or to share what they're going through. But if teachers, they can get it from teachers and their parents, who are their primary caregivers, then that would really go a long way. Yeah. Jacqueline, you said absolutely, like the way I didn't like my math teacher. Yes, and maybe that might have affected how you interacted with the math lesson itself. It may not be that had you maybe had a good teacher, right, or a teacher you liked, you might have excelled or might have liked the math subject. So that is very important, and something that I love about your reflections and your statement, Chifuniro. So the next thing is that I want to ask you, what does the future look for you? Okay, what do you think your future looks like? 2 years from now, what impacts do you want to have on yourself? Now, the reason why this is important is that as teachers, when we are reflecting on things like this, it's important to know that as a teacher, you have a personality. You are a whole being on yourself. And when you are connected with your inner self, with your vision, with where you're headed to, it also helps you deliver your best or give out your best. Why is that important? Let's say you're planning in the next 2 years not to continue the teaching profession. It's going to shape how you interact with the kids today. And if you don't know that intentionally, you will start acting that way, and you will lose focus and forget that even if 2 years to come, you don't want to continue teaching, you still need to impact the children that are in your care today. So I want you guys to look into now. That is not something I want you to tell me about where you want to, where you what your future looks like. That is something I want you to write down yourself, or sit down and ask yourself that 2 years from now, what impact do you want to have on yourself? And then bring it back to, how does that impact? How does my present moment, how will it influence or shape that 2 years from now? How will it make any progress or anything? How will it have an impact on that 2 years from now? And also 2 years from now, when you're looking back at now, what are you doing today to make sure that you wouldn't look back 2 years from now and feel like you should have done this better? So for instance, if you're somebody who thinks that, oh, 2 years from now, I don't want to continue teaching. But right now, how can you ensure that when you're looking back at that 2 years from now, you're not regretting an interaction you should have had with your students? You're not regretting something you should have done to make sure that even though you don't want to continue this profession as a teacher, what can you do so that your child or your students can still describe you even within the short time you've had with them? Like Jacqueline said, teacher Tom Tom. How can you do that? And those are very important things, because you may not always be, you may not even change the teaching profession, but you may not be in the school 2 years from now. Maybe you may be with another organization, but the experience you've had with your students, they are going to take that forever. Even if you change school, you change organization, you have moved on. But one day when they go back to reflect on that experience, they're going to carry it with them. So Jacqueline, like you said, your math teacher, right? Your math teacher has probably moved on. He's probably doing something else now, or he's still teaching, but he doesn't even know about the experience you're talking about. But you have the opportunity now to make sure that the students in your classroom, even if you move on in this profession, or even if you change schools, the experience you have with them now is still something great. So describe that, put that in your 2 years from now, and what impact you want to have on yourself, because it's very important that we have goals for ourselves and also understand the kind of, whilst we are achieving those goals, the kind of energy and everything we are creating. The next thing is, what do you think the future looks like for your students 2 years from now? And what impact do you want to have on them? For that, I want you to share it with me. It's important that we know the kind of impacts we want to have, because if you don't have a vision or something you want to work towards, you will just be doing anything. Okay, you just wake up, hey, I have a job at the organization where you are teaching, and you go, you know what you're supposed to do. That is what we call the normal curriculum as plan, because it's a plan, it's just a structure. You go, you know what you do, you start the class, hey students, da 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 da. It's break time, they go out for break, they come back, you interact with your parents when they do that. But what impact do you want to have on your students 2 years from now? This is something you can just post in the chat. You can just share it and then write it down yourself. Add it to the first one that you're going to write for yourself, and so that you can work towards both of them. But I would also like to see some of the ideas you guys have, if you can post it in the chat. So I'll give you like 2 minutes to do that, and you can post them in the chat.
Hi, Lily.
Hello, Jacqueline.
Yeah, so for the second one, you said what?
So for the second one, it is 2 years from now. What does the future look like for your students?
Okay.
And what impact do you want to have on them? How do you, so you're just envisioning, okay? Like the students collectively, the students in your class, what do you think? I'm not talking about their personal life, I'm talking about their learning. Would you see any improvement 2 years? What kind of improvement are you hoping to see? So for instance, if it's a particular child, you don't have to name the name, but you can say that I do see that some of for instance, maybe you see some of your students struggle with a certain area. 2 years from now, even if you're not in that school, what foundations are you laying so that 2 years from now, you believe that those things will create an impact or have this kind of impact on them?
Thank you. I missed that point. I just wrote the first part.
Okay. Okay. So Chifinuru said, my kids are able to read and write and independently. They're able to read and write independently. They're advanced academically. They're proud of themselves and confident. And also they keep learning and exploring. That's what I think the future of my kids look like. Okay. But what you just mentioned, you said they're already doing that. So how can we build upon that? Chifinuro, if you can build upon that, because yes, you've mentioned, you said they are able to read and write, or you're talking about 2 years from now, they're able to read and write. Is that, I'm not sure if I understood your statement correctly. Are you talking about within 2 years? So you're making a statement that by 2 years from now, they'll be able to read and write independently and also advance academically, and they're proud of themselves. Is that what your statement is?
Yes, that's what my statement means. Like in 2 years from now, they
Okay.
are able to read and write independently. Yeah, I'm talking about the 2 years from now. Yeah, because right now I teach students that they don't know how to read. They don't know the alphabet. They don't know how to communicate in English. They're curious, but they don't know much of the things. So 2 years from now, I want them to be able to write, to be able to read independent read. I want them to be proud of themselves, looking back at where they came from, and also I want them to be confident in everything that they want to do, in everything that they want to accomplish. I want to equip them with skills so that 2 years from now, they are able to trust themselves, trust their judgment. Yeah.
Okay. That is good. And then let me see. So Jacqueline said to be remembered for introducing them to digital literacy and the experiential learning. 2 years to come, I want to see my students reading and writing properly without asking for any help. Same time being selected to national secondary school. Further, they should be able to use tech gadgets for learning purposes, which is very central in this 21st century learning environment. Good. Okay. Great. So now that you've identified what you want them to be able to achieve within the next 2 years, on your own, okay, you can also describe how you think the actions you're going to take now would propel them. So you're going to break down this goal that you have for the next 2 years, whether you're going to be in that school or not. Your goal is to start working on those goals. So the lived curriculum, like I said, even though you have a curriculum to follow, this is the goal or the vision you have for the students in your classroom. So you're now going to break down this goal and see how this would fit, this vision you have for your students within the next 2 years, how it will fit into the curriculum, so that whilst delivering, let's say, math, drawing, or science lessons, you're putting at the back of your mind that you want your students to achieve this goal within the next 2 years. And so you're now going to come up with ways to embed that. So Jacqueline, you talked about the digital aspect, using tech gadgets and all that. And you mentioned you already have tablets. So it means the exposure is already there. But you also have to remember, what kind of way can I engage them in using these tech gadgets, like you said, for learning purposes, so that they don't get too absorbed also in these tech gadgets that they don't want to learn. So that is something you can work on. And right now you may not see the real importance of it, but like you said, remember from your own personal reflections that we had, how you were able to gather those reflections, and you did not take any other reflection or memory or any other thing that you remembered from your school or from your home, but you took the ones that you did. It means that the experiences from those connections or those interactions really had impact on your life. And that is the purpose of this. We're going to go, we're almost running out of time. We are supposed to finish at 11. We didn't start early, but we'll go ahead and try to complete what we wanted to do. Now, we've talked about you, your person. You've reflected on your experience. We've talked about how you think your students will perceive you or describe you. You've talked about your educational experience and how it shaped your current way of doing things, and even with teaching the children in your school. Now, I want you to ask yourself, who are your students? And this is very important. We have what we call personalities. Every child has their own personalities, or you can say personhood. So every child in your classroom has their personality. So I'm going to leave this as an assignment. We're going to do this next week because you're going to go back to school, right? So you're going to look at your students. And so I'm just going to make this an assignment. We have about, I think, 4. So the first one is, who are your students? Jacqueline, how many students do you have in your class? Just so we tailor it.
So there are 30.
Sorry?
There are 30.
30. Oh, wow. What about you, Chifunuro?
I have 8.
You have how many?
I have 28
28.
students.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're going to do, I will say that I don't think you can describe all the 28 students in your class, but most of them may have a similar personality. So you can group their personalities. Okay. So the question is, who are your students? What are their personalities like? Should you have the opportunity to describe your student with one word or statement, what would it be? And so you can group them, okay? So you can group those kind of personalities. It can be a statement. My students behave this way, and you'll see some of those behaviors like in most of them. So you can maybe have 5 points on first describing. And so I want you also to go and look into or do research on what personhood is, and also looking at describing the personalities of the students in your classroom. And 2, what do you think? So is that first question clear, or you want me to re-explain it before I go to that second one? Hello?
I think it's clear. You said we have to describe our students. So because we have many students, we have to group them according to their personality.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. So the second is, what do you think is the best approach to interact with your students based on the description you just gave about them? So based on the personality you have described, okay, in the first one, what do you think is the best approach to use to interact with somebody with this kind of personality? A lot of times we think that children don't have personalities, or we have to force them to be a certain way, okay? So for instance, if I'm teaching in my class, I want my students to behave this way. Of course, we want to make sure our students behave properly, but we also need to understand the personality they already have before coming into our classroom, okay? And let's say, for instance, a child is showing a behavior, they don't listen, or you ask everybody to color and they want something else. Or let's say you say, okay, we're going to color the skies blue, right? And one particular child says, no, I don't want to color it blue. That is a personality they have. Their personality is to do things different. And so once you identified what their personality is, you now need to ask yourself, what is the best approach to engage such a child? The normal way we would always go is, no, everybody's doing blue and that's it, right? But if you look at, without understanding their personality and without knowing their personality, you think the child just wants to challenge you as the teacher. And so you also want to take back that power. So the second question again is, what do you think is the best approach to interact with your students based on the description you just gave about them? And then the third thing you're going to do is, now you put together the words and the statement you identified about your student, and collectively, how would you call this group of words or statement? For instance, after identifying, let's say 4 of your students are assertive, 4 of them are talkative, another group is stubborn, another group is vibrant. Collectively, because you're going to be teaching them as a group, what in a statement, how would you describe your students, like in a whole, the whole class? Do you get what I'm saying? So you first identify them in groups, or let's say you take child A, you say, I think his personality, by watching him, you can take maybe just 10 minutes watching them from afar to do this exercise. And it's very important for you, because once you identify their personality, it also makes the job easier for you as a teacher, because you don't take certain things personal. Right? You've realized and watched them from afar, you realize this student is this way, this one is that way. Now, collectively, I think that when you mix them, this is what I will describe my students as. So that is the third one. And the fourth one is, finally, what approach in learning can you use to engage students who are this way? So because you gave them a collective name, let's say you say, I think that putting everything together, my students are change makers. They like to solve problems, right? Let's put it that way. So what approach in learning can you use to engage students who are problem solvers collectively? Remember, the second question was, what do you think is the best approach to interact? Interaction is different, right? Compared to the learning approach you want to use. The learning approach is, maybe you think that, like Jacqueline said,